Okay, that's looking back up the incline shaft to the top. That's how far down I came here. I got off here at the first level, which is this platform that I'm standing on. And the incline shaft continues way down there. It just keeps going and going. It kind of bottoms out down there, and but just keeps going. But anyway, this is the first drift level. There's a ladder in here, and what looks like a stope. Now, a stope is what the miners call a underground cavern like this that's left behind once they remove all the ore. The cavity that remains is called a stope, and that's what this is. And stopes can be, all different sizes. Some are big like this, and some are even bigger. Some you can fit houses in. So that probably goes up to an upper area. And there's another retaining wall. There's probably a stope above this one, and that's holding back all the rubble that's behind that retaining wall. That's kind of sketchy. But check this out over here. There's a big wooden wheel or something. Yeah, that could let go at any time, but hopefully it won't do it while I'm standing down here looking at this wheel. Not sure what this was. Looks like there might have been a cable that ran on there. See that? Some kind of a gear, a pulley or something. But and it looks like there might be a passageway down there behind those timbers. So making my way down here in this stope, check out the ceiling here right above me. Look how smooth that is. What the miners call the back of the mine. And boy, check this out right here in front of me. The back here looks like it's almost kind of like sagging, but it's not. But there's a void up in there, so this isn't really stable. That's the problem with these stopes. When they take out the ore and leave behind these big cavities, the ceiling remains unsupported, which could give way at any time. That's why stopes can be dangerous. This right here, the stacked rock on the right, they call that gobbing. It was much cheaper and easier to stack the rock, the waste rock, inside the mine rather than haul it outside. It was more time saving to do it this way. So that's a wall of gobbing. And it looks like there's a tunnel that keeps going off there to the left. This is kind of cool how this little tunnel was formed here in the stope. One side on the right is gobbing, and then on the left is just the exposed rock. Kind of a cool little tunnel. It's kind of sloping downhill too, just a little bit, so I'm not sure where this is going to go. It'd be nice if it led down to the next level, so I wouldn't have to take the incline shaft, but well, okay. Oh, a ladder. And here's a good example of this gobbing. Check out this. So behind the wall is just nothing, a void. So that's a good example of why they do that. They block off unused areas. It saved time rather than hauling all those rocks outside. They just stack them up and wall off certain portions of the mine. Okay, so I got some ladders here. Let's check this out. Okay, so this upper ladder is really not attached to anything. It's just resting on that large support timber down there on the right. The left side of the ladder, I don't think is being supported by anything. And then there's a ladder beyond it that's a lot steeper, and I'm not sure if that's nailed to anything or not. So I don't know if I'm going to go down this. I would hate to fall down into that pit and then can't get out. Okay, so making my way down this little ladder system, 2 ladders. This second ladder is really secure. It must be somehow attached to these cross timbers. But you know, I see down there animal droppings, not big ones. So you know, I've heard that sometimes these what are they called? Some kind of a cat, ringtail cats sometimes live down in these mines on lower levels like this. And I often wondered why would that be, but you know, there's no food source, but there are a lot of rodent droppings all through this mine. So the ringtail cat, if one does live in here, which looks like it does, all these droppings, or some kind of animal, a fox or something, but probably eats the mice. And that's why they live so far in these mines. So maybe we'll see it, because some of these droppings I think look kind of fresh. So yeah, I think this is the third level. I'm not sure, but let me get down here a little bit more. Oh yeah, that goes that way to the right. I think I see another shaft there on the left going down. And then over here to the left, looks like it keeps going too. Wow, this mine is kind of extensive. That guy was right. The map that I saw of this mine was made early on when it wasn't very extensive at all. So, pays to do your homework. Okay, just came down these two little ladders here. And check out this retaining wall. It continues here in the drift tunnel all the way down there. So all that gobbing we saw on the tunnel coming in here on the right-hand side, that's what's behind this retaining wall. That is a lot of gobbing, a lot of waste rock. Wow. So, yeah, it's getting kind of junky down here. Tunnel goes that way, and then straight ahead here, that might just be a dead end. And this probably goes back to the main shaft, I would think. That is really impressive. That's amazing. That retaining wall. Okay, so this is a different shaft, incline shaft. And that's got a ladder, a series of ladders that go down. Wow. So the main incline shaft we were in must be over here. So this must be a parallel incline shaft. And then that's where we just came from. Well, I want to test my theory out and see if the main incline shaft does indeed come back over here, like I think it does. I hear some more cart tracks, and I see something. I think this is the incline shaft we were on. Let's go check it out and make sure. Part of a miner's old broom. So we got off at the second level and took those two ladders and came down to the third level. I think this is the same shaft we were in. Yeah, there's the bell wire that I showed you at the top of the shaft. I'm pretty sure this is the same one. Let me get over here. Yes, I'm pretty sure that is. That's looking up. So I'm on the third drift level looking down the incline shaft, and it looks like the ladders make a turn to the left down there. They kind of veer off to the left. Right there. There's some initials SW and the year 1960 from a previous explorer. So continuing down the incline shaft from the third level. Yeah, this is kind of a long stretch, and it veers off there to the left, so I'm not sure where we're headed. Now, one thing about going deeper in abandoned mines is, you know, the air quality can start to suffer on lower levels because there's no circulation. But I carry my 2 meters here. One's oxygen and one's hydrogen sulfide gas, just in case. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend going down shafts like this if you don't have oxygen meter, at least an oxygen meter, because when you get, like I said, when you get down here lower, there's no air circulation and there could be a pocket of oxygen deficient air, and that can kill you in one breath. Okay, I'm approaching the bend in the ladder system here. It bends off to the left, and still have the bell wire there running down the left-hand side of the shaft. So there must be something down here. You can see the grooves there in the timbers, probably from the, I don't know, the carts going up and down maybe. But here's the bend to the left. So I just made the bend on the ladders, and there's the bottom. So not too far down there. So might as well go all the way down and see what's down there. So here is the bottom, and that looks like a door. Maybe they had a door, a couple of doors going across here to close it off. I don't know. Here at the bottom of the incline shaft, check out the square nails. There's two of them right there. That really dates this mine as being old. So that's looking back up the incline shaft. There's the bend to the right that we just came down, and I'm at the very bottom here, and there's a drift tunnel off to the left, so let's go check it out. So we're probably going to come across that other incline shaft we saw when we were on the second level, or the third level, I mean. I think that's it right there in front of us. Another retaining wall, just like on the other level we were just on, but this one has an ore chute. So here's looking up this ore chute. It's kind of cool. There's a retaining wall up in there like we've seen before, and look at the wooden platform here for the rocks. That's how big the chute is. And more stopes up there behind this wall on the right. That probably leads up into the level we were just on. So coming back out here, here's the main incline shaft, or not the main one, but the other one, the secondary one we found in that one area. Yeah, that probably goes up to the level we were on, I bet. And might have gone down even further that way, but okay, believe it or not, there's tracks here coming down at an incline. They're covered up here by a bunch of rubble, but that did go further, a lot further. I can see back there. It keeps going way down. It looks pretty big back there. But they must have stopped mining down on this lower level and just threw all this waste rock down here instead when they were finished with that lower area. But that looks quite substantial down there. And then there's a little hole there that goes into a stope probably. And this is looking back up the incline into that stope. And we just came from that tunnel right there to the left. There's an old burlap bag. Bet that dates from the 1890s. I'm almost tempted to climb up this ladder system to get back up out of here, because I think we were looking down these ladders from the, I believe it was the third level. You can see the ladder there. It looks in really good condition and just keeps going up. I think we were looking down that, so, but I'm not sure. But it most likely does go back up to where we were. But I like to explore more of this mine, especially what's back there. But so not sure what that device is right there. Looks like it was, it could possibly move. I don't know if that was part of the bell signaling system. I don't know, but I think that pivots. Okay, made it back up the incline shaft and back in the main haulage tunnel. Yeah, I gotta start heading back, so I'm not gonna be able to get to the upper levels in this mine as well as that upper tunnel. That's a dead end. We went this way. I have to come back at a later date and check out the upper workings and the upper levels in this particular mine. This was really impressive. Wasn't expecting this to be that extensive based on the map I saw, but the map I saw was apparently made way early on, and the mine just got more and more extensive after that map was made. So multi-level, that's for sure, and pretty cool. So here's the entrance. We're headed this way. So I hope you enjoyed this tour, and stay tuned because later on I'll be back up here checking out the other workings that I missed.